Get into it. We just blew through Kentucky. We are now in Tennessee. Absolutely amazing place, Kentucky. Amazing place, Tennessee. I love seeing all these places. Can't wait to get to Texas. Let's get right into it. We got Joe Rogan talking about his interview with Kamala Harris. He feels like it's gonna happen. He's like me when I was hoping for the Trump interview all those months ago. You know, that's what he's doing right now, and I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have a couple of clips of him actually talking about it in one of his newest podcast appearances, and then we're gonna actually hear a statement that he put out on Twitter, which pretty much dwindles away hope. And then we're going to hear JD Vance actually cut into Kamala Harris just a little bit because he himself made an appearance on the podcast recently. Let's get into it.
I'm like, I love these guys so much. Too bad. It's just there's nothing going on.
Well, I heard you might have needed to cancel on us to get Kamala Harris on.
I was not going to do that. I would have had to. I knew you guys flew from England, and I wasn't going to cancel on you because she had an opportunity to come in. You could look at this and you could say, oh, you're being a diva. But she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. She's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull. On.
Yeah, but I think this idea that you're being a diva is silly because you're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, like, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room. And they want to control a lot of things, I'm sure, according to the Brett Breyer interview on Fox. Like, people were waving him off. That's a distraction. People in the room, like, my whole goal with her and with him is just talk. Just have a conversation like a human being. You find out things about people. You get a sense of them, at least, a real sense. That was it. I don't give a fuck what you talk about. I really don't. I just want to talk to you. Who the you?
Do you think they think that you're on his side and they're more wary of you?
I don't know. I mean, there's just because of my appearance, there's always been this assumption that I'm some right-wing MAGA guy. I was a Bernie supporter. I am not. I'm a politically homeless person for sure. I always considered myself a left-wing person. I never thought I would ever vote right-wing. But then the tides of culture shifted in a very bizarre way. And it just made me, over time, much more aware of what this stuff is really all about. Because what this stuff is really all about is just these natural human behavior patterns and these.
This is what people get into when they don't just want to say, you know what, I realized Trump was the better candidate. I don't know why people get into that. I'm going to play another Joe Rogan clip right now in this same episode. I'm going to bring it over here. When people, that's what I'm noticing. When people say they're politically homeless, if you really took the time to really look at both of the candidates and everything that was going on, you'd be able to make a decision. Let's be real. You'd be able to be like, well, these people on this side talk about a lot of the things that I'm concerned about. These people don't. You could find it. You might be split 70-30, maybe even 50-50. But, when I hear people say they're politically homeless, what they're really saying is, I don't know which side is going to embrace me. I don't know which side's going to attack me. And when you're in show business, the left is going to attack you hard, and it's going to cost you a little bit. Might cost you money, might cost you opportunity. So then you become politically homeless. That's what that Young Turks girl is going through right now, that Anna. She's like, I'm not sure. I don't know. You just don't want to say you support Trump because you know what's going to happen to you. You're not ready for that smoke. Let's get into that next clip. Let's get into it right now.
Or you putting signs up on your lawn.
But righteousness is such a drug, man. Like when we were standing in that line in New York, there was a guy that walked past and he was like, enjoy your fucking Nazi rally, to like a family with young kids. You're not a good guy.
Yeah.
You're not a good guy when you're doing that. I don't care what your politics is. You're not a good guy.
No.
You're not. You feel when you're shouting that, but you're not behaving in the right way.
It just gives the ability to scream at people because they think they're right. Especially if you've already labeled those people Nazis. Yeah. Enjoy your Nazi rally. Like, you could yell whatever you want at Nazis. That was the whole thing back in the day. Remember punch a Nazi? Okay, but who gets to determine who the Nazis are? Like if you're in World War II, yeah, you have to punch a Nazi. But if you're in Brooklyn, I bet that guy's not really a Nazi. He might just have a tie on. Like,
or listen to this podcast.
Yeah, he might be listening to this podcast.
But
He might get punched on the subway.
But you know what? I would love Kamala Harris to come on this podcast. That's the podcast I want to see the most in this election.
Too, but I feel like very strongly that if it's going to be done, it has to be done like a regular podcast because that's the only way it works.
Sure.
The only way it works is just sit down and talk with somebody. You can't go to some ballroom in some hotel where they control everything and they have cameras ready and they want to edit stuff out. It's like, that's just too weird. It's not the same thing. Like you go to see Colbert, you're on his set. You don't ask him to make a set like at the White House. Like, you're doing it where he does it.
Totally.
Yeah.
But that is why we've had a depressing conversation. I'm still excited because that thing you're talking about, Jeff Bezos, that's the market working.
Yeah.
Your ratings are tanking. No one trusts you. No one buys your newspaper. Okay. Well, who's doing it right? Let's have a look around. Who's successful? Oh, it's this. Okay. Maybe we need to do that thing you were talking about, Gore Vidal Buckley.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to actually have a conversation. Maybe we need to I'd love for you to have Trump and Harris in here. Mm-hmm. That'd be interesting.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, what really should be the two of you sit down and have a conversation for as long as it takes.
Right.
Just no moderator, no one there.
No, not even a moderator. Not
I
you.
don't think I need to be in the way. It would be hilarious.
That would be
to watch
that would be a bloodbath.
How long would it take? Like, how are you going to fix the economy? How are you going to fix the economy?
Yeah.
Like, I want to do this. That was my idea.
No time limit.
No time limit.
Like the UFC back in the day,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that would be how you'd really, like when you see two people on a panel and they're talking about things and one person really knows what they're talking about, like it's Bill Maher or whatever. When that happens, it's always fascinating to watch someone like way out of their league and they get exposed. But that same person could be doing a softball interview and they look like a wizard. They look like a genius because they already have their predetermined answers to questions that have already been presented to them, so they prepare. And that's essentially what you've been getting a lot with Kamala Harris. You've been getting a lot of this prepared stuff. Well, I was born in a middle-class family. And then she just has this thing that she's going to say. And
you see, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to this whole Kamala Harris thing. Because this is what they have to do. Okay, this is what Trump's campaign didn't do with Tony Hinchcliffe. They didn't go through all of his stuff to really see what he says and how risque he gets. But Kamala Harris's campaign for sure went through Joe Rogan's catalog. Maybe not every episode, but it's like, did he have a friend who called me the R word? Did he have a 10-minute talk about what a bad vice president I was? Does he know Tulsi Gabbard and talk avidly about how great she is and how badly she beat me in a debate? They've probably gone through all this and they hear things like that and they're like, we're not going to sit down with this guy. Why would they? I love Joe, but if I was around Kamala, I'd be like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That would be like me talking to one of my friends who's just a guy and he's like, I'm going to fight John Jones. I'm like, oh, you're going to fight John Jones, huh? No, you're not, buddy. Okay? You're sitting down here with me. We're going to eat McDonald's or something. You're not fighting John Jones. That's what she's preparing for. But this is the statement that Joe Rogan put out just pretty much the same day or just the day after this podcast. Also, for the record, the Kamala Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. Yes, they have, Joe. It's not happening. They offered a date for Tuesday. That day has passed already, but he would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do 1 hour. That would have been the shortest podcast in the history of the show. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. I don't see this happening. First off, she doesn't want to be known as a human being. You can tell from her whole campaign, the one thing she does not want is for anyone to get to know her as a human being. You can't find her father. You barely hear from her sister. Her husband standing in the back. He's barely talking unless he's with Tim Walz. And then some wild stuff came out about him. You don't hear from her stepkids. She does not want, you don't hear from her acquaintances. Her staff has a 92% turnover rate. It's crazy. The last thing she wants is for anyone to get to know her as a person. That's why she's not going to do this interview. That's why she tried not to do any interviews. She doesn't even want people to know who she is or who she wants to be as a president. She won't even explain what she actually wants to do. So you think she's going to explain to Joe Rogan who she is as a human being? It's not going to happen. I don't see that happening whatsoever. JD Vance ended up getting at Kamala Harris. Let's hear it.
We're thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be in Pennsylvania. We actually recorded an episode of Joe Rogan this morning, so we started out in Austin, Texas. And we're closing out.
How long was it, JD? How long were you in Rogan's
Almost
studio?
4 hours. Almost 4 hours. So I've officially done more interview time than Kamala Harris has the entire campaign just today. So we're look,
Oh, man, that's actually true. That is sad. JD did it all in one shot. Amazing episode, by the way. But again, Joe Rogan is still gunning for Kamala Harris to be on the podcast. And listen, I would like to see it happen, kind of. I'm pretty tired of her just dodging questions. It gets frustrating to listen to over time. You know, you heard Trump. Trump gets deep into things if you give him the opportunity. Kamala Harris runs away from things if you give her the opportunity. But it would still be cool to hear Joe ask her some questions. But the thing is, Joe's making it so clear in this right here. He's making it so clear. He's like, I will do a softball interview with you, you know? So it's like he'll probably ask her why she changed her stance on things. He'll probably ask her a couple of things, but he's not going to go hard. And that's what you want to see when it comes to Kamala Harris. You want to see somebody actually go hard, actually push. The Fox interview she did, I think that's what we're going to see. That's it. We're so close to the election. This actually and I know who Joe Rogan is. You guys know I know who Joe Rogan is, how important he is, but she's so close to this election taking place right now. This is the last thing she needs, because she's going to look ridiculous. The interview's going to get 40 million views. It's going to change people's minds. Any men who were like, I guess they would watch Joe Rogan with her and they'd be like, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. It would be terrible for her. Terrible. Plus, they're insulting Joe. They're treating Joe like he's me. They're like, oh, you're going to come over to where we are. There's a hotel. And like, what? No, it's it's the best podcast in the world. What are you talking about? Like, what? What are you saying right now? Of course not. Of course he's not traveling to you. He's going to pack up his microphones and his Jamie and come meet you in some place. Are you crazy? After you were just in Texas, you were just a couple hours away from where he was? Not happening. I don't see it happening at all. A lot of people are sitting back. You know, Charlie Kirk is saying America deserves a 3-hour conversation with Kamala and Rogan, unscripted. Hope it happens. Hope she stops trying to dictate the terms. You have a format. You know, what Joe said hits the mark perfectly. You didn't do that with Stephen Colbert. You know, you're not doing that. I'm not even putting Stephen Colbert on the same level as Joe Rogan. You don't get to do that with Joe Rogan. And that's how out of touch she is. That she doesn't even know that, hey, you don't get to ask Joe Rogan to come to you. It's Joe Rogan. You see how entitled she is as a person? Donald Trump, who is massively more famous, massively more influential than Kamala Harris, is like, yeah, he's a former president. He's like, where's your studio? I'll be there. See you soon. And he sits down in the same chair that Eddie Bravo and Brendan Schaub sit in, where they smoke weed and this and that. And he sits in that same place with Jamie just sitting right there, and he does a 3-hour interview. JD Vance does the same thing. Kamala Harris is like, can you come to me and I only want to do an hour? That's the type of kid gloves thing we've been seeing with her this entire election. The entire time. It's always been these weird kid gloves. And this is who we're expecting to be president. This is crazy. Listen, BlackRock, whoever it is behind her, good job. Good job. But listen, next time, pick a different person. Okay? Okay? Don't insult us next time, BlackRock, when you're just picking people to puppeteer. Pick a good person. Okay? Pick someone we could believe. This is ridiculous. Pick someone that can talk, okay, BlackRock? Okay, lizard people out there? Any lizard people that listen to this podcast? Pick someone better next time. You picked Biden, and now you're picking Kamala. You guys are like, you're doing terrible, okay? We're waking up. We're waking up because of what you're doing. I'm just saying. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go lock my hotel door because of what I just said. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.